Hey everybody, it's Perry from BouncerTips, the channel that gives you tips, tricks, and tools to help you become a better bouncer. In today's video, I want to talk about 5 pet peeves of mine that customers do that still test my patience and what I do to control my emotions. Coming up. If you work in the nightclub or festival industry, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also make sure you hit that little notification bell so you get notifications of future content. First off, I want to apologize to my subscribers for not getting a video out sooner. Unfortunately, I had a death in my family this past week, which has prevented me from getting some content out. My goal moving forward is to put out at least one video per week, and I do apologize that I'd get one out sooner. In all my years of working in the nightclub and festival industry, I've seen people do a lot of stupid things, make bad decisions, and do horrible things to themselves and others while drinking. And it is true that common sense and alcohol sometimes just don't mix. Now, most of the time I'm able to handle these situations in a professional manner. In fact, sometimes I'm even entertained by some of the foolishness that some of these people do. However, there are a few types of guests that still do get on my nerves, and I have to work really hard to control my emotions. And these are the 5 following types of guests that actually really do get my blood boiling. And if you're one of these type of guests, please don't do it. My first pet peeve is the type of customer that I call the ignorer. And the ignorer is somebody that's clearly done something inappropriate in the club, or actually is way intoxicated and you can't have them in the club any longer. And you approach that guest, and unfortunately they'll just stare off into space and not communicate with you at all. You try to engage with them several times and they just stare off into space, or continue to drink their drink, or smoke a cigarette, whatever. They just will not engage with you. The biggest issue I have with the ignorer is that you don't really know what they're thinking. Are they just avoiding you just to be difficult? Or are they actually contemplating doing something stupid, like attacking you, and that's what you have to be most careful of? In that particular situation, what I often do is try to physically touch them to make sure that they understand that I'm trying to engage with them, because sometimes the clubs are loud and people don't always understand that you're trying to communicate with them. So I want to make it perfectly clear that I'm communicating with them directly, so I'll put my hand on their shoulder or on their elbow, just so they know that I'm actually speaking directly with them. Plus, I'm also in a position that if they do something stupid, I'm there to protect myself. So after I've touched their shoulder or their elbow to make sure that they know that I'm engaging with them, I'll ask them if they'll follow me to another part of the establishment so we can have a conversation. If they continue to ignore me, what I'll do then is actually ask them directly if there's anything I can do to have them follow me. If they continue to ignore me, that's when I signal to my bouncers or my team and make sure that we get in a position so we can do a controlled escort out of the building. The second type of guest that's a real pet peeve of mine is what I call the repeater. And the repeater is somebody that's actually had too much to drink, and you bring them outside to let them know that they're no longer going to be able to continue their evening and we're going to need to find them a way home. And unfortunately, they're not able to process what's going on, so they actually ask you, yeah, but what did I do wrong? And you explain to them, you didn't really do anything wrong. All you've done is had a little bit too much to drink tonight, and we're going to have to end your evening. And they follow up with the question, well, what did I do wrong? So you explain to them, unfortunately, you didn't really do anything. We just got to get you home, blah, blah, blah. And they follow up, what did I do wrong? And it just gets in a circular argument, and it keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. And that gets quite annoying. So how I deal with that is typically I'll actually just get really firm and say, hey, you've had enough. We can't serve you anymore. Let's get you home. That's it. End of story. No more talking. Let's get you home. The third type of customer that's a pet peeve of mine is what I call the big spender. And the big spender is a guest that comes in the establishment, buys a drink or two, does something inappropriate, and we have to ask them to leave. And when I ask them to leave, they come with the response of, do you have any idea how much money I spend here? Well, as a head of security and a manager of the club, yeah, I kind of do have an idea of how much money you spend here. But that doesn't really matter. If you've done something inappropriate or you've done something wrong, you're just not going to be able to stay. And to be honest, I do appreciate every guest that comes in my club and also spends their money, hard-earned money, in my establishment. But that doesn't entitle you to any sort of special privileges. So if you've bought a couple of drinks in the club, you're a great customer, and I do appreciate it. However, if I don't know you and the GM of the club doesn't know you, then you're not a big spender. The fourth type of guest that does get on my nerves and is a bit of a pet peeve of mine, and it really probably shouldn't be, the type of customer that I call the big shot. And the big shot is a customer that comes in, again, does something foolish or inappropriate, we take them outside, and inevitably, some point in their conversation, they start bringing up our wages. And what I mean by that is they'll say that, do you have any idea how much money I make? Enjoy your $15 an hour job or $5 an hour job, whatever stupid number they want to throw out there. To be quite honest, it's irrelevant how much money we're making. We make a certain amount of money to do a certain job, and that job is to make sure that we protect the assets of this company. It doesn't matter if you make $1 million, $300,000, $30,000, or $10 an hour. The fact is that we have to do our job, and it doesn't matter what your wages are or what our wages are, we have a job to do. With that being said, a lot of my staff aren't full-time employees, and they do have other jobs that they do, so they actually might make more than you. So before you throw out some sort of comment about how much money we make per hour, it really doesn't matter. We're just doing our job. The fifth and final type of person that's a real pet peeve of mine is what I call the last man standing. And the last man standing is the guest that just refuses to leave at the end of the night. The bar is closed. We've been closed for quite some time. By law, we have only a certain amount of time to get guests cleared out before we actually start breaking the law. And this person just wants to sit there and linger and get in a conversation at 2 o'clock, or has to run to the restroom at 2 o'clock, walks out and is slowly lingering through the club. We want to go home. The employees want to go home. The law states that we have to shut down and get everybody out of the club. You just can't stay. You got to go somewhere else. And the last man standing are some of the most difficult people to deal with, because it's the end of the night. You don't want to get things going. You just want the person to leave. And if they're lingering around, it really does get on your nerves. Now, with those 5 things, I really do try to keep myself in check. Patience is the most important part of this job. If you don't have patience, you won't be successful in this business. Patience, as it's defined, is the capacity to accept or tolerate, delay trouble or suffering without getting angry or upset. And if you can't do that in this industry, you won't be successful as a bouncer. So a couple of things that I do, I try to keep myself in control by doing proper breathing. I want to make sure I breathe and get myself calmed down. So I'll step back a little bit and I'll actually breathe a little bit. The second thing I do is, when I'm starting to get a little bit heated, I actually internalize a little bit and actually start thinking about, okay, how do I win this argument? And not trying to win in the argument is to try to make the customer feel bad or verbally assault them in any way, but I want to play mental judo with them. How do I win this particular altercation without making me look bad or do something that's inappropriate that could put my job in risk? The third thing I do is, if I'm starting to get a little heated or starting to get a little bit angry, is I'll actually step back. And what I'll try to do is let one of my other employees, one of my other security guards or bouncers, try to step in and come at it at a different angle, so I can cool down, but maybe a different conversation will control the situation and de-escalate it so it doesn't get out of control. So I hope this information was helpful to you. Again, if you do these things at the club, please don't. It's so annoying. But if you're a bouncer, these are some things that you can do to make sure that you keep yourself in check. If you're a working bouncer, please put in the comments section what some of your biggest pet peeves are. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you would, please make sure you hit that subscribe button right there. Also, if you would, follow me on Twitter. And you've just been taken beyond the rope. If you want to know about 5 misconceptions about being a bouncer, click this video right here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and have a good day.